Christ, King of endless glory. The Lord be with you. Reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. One of the 12, who was called Judas Iscariot, went to the chief priests and said, "What are you willing to give me if I hand him over to you?" They paid him 30 pieces of silver, and from that time on he looked for an opportunity to hand him over. On the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, the disciples approached Jesus and said, "Where do you want us to prepare for you to eat the Passover?" He said, "Go into the city to a certain man and tell him, 'The teacher says, my appointed time draws near. In your house I shall celebrate the Passover with my disciples.'" The disciples then did as Jesus had ordered and prepared the Passover. When it was evening, he reclined at table with the 12, and while they were eating, he said, "Amen, I say to you, one of you will betray me." Deeply distressed at this, they began to say to him one after another, "Surely it is not I, Lord." He said in reply, "He who has dipped his hand into the dish with me is the one who will betray me. The Son of Man indeed goes as it is written, but woe to that man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It would be better for that man if he had never been born." Then Judas, his betrayer, said in reply, "Surely it is not I, Rabbi." He answered, "You have said so." The Gospel of the Lord. Kind of similar to yesterday's Gospel reading. We had John's version of Jesus announcing the betrayal of Judas. Now we have Matthew's version. But Matthew also has some little interesting details in here that are not in John's Gospel. First of all, the very last line, "Surely is not I, Rabbi." I'll give you a hint. Sometimes when you read the Gospels, pay attention to how the people address Jesus, okay? That will give you a clue sometimes as far as their interior disposition of how they feel about the person, or how, in this case, how they feel about Jesus. The disciples, especially at this part in Matthew's Gospel, usually address Jesus as what? As Lord, okay? Judas, when he addresses Jesus, calls him not Lord, but Rabbi. And what's the difference? Well, Lord also implies what? An interior submission to the person. You know, like you are my Lord. I obey you. I give it my whole life over to you. Rabbi, which just means teacher, is okay, you're a teacher, but I necessarily don't have that interior given of myself over to you. Okay. So Judas doesn't have that. Okay. But the first part of this gospel passage is what I want to reflect on, because again, this is Matthew's unique detail that aren't in the other gospels. Judas sneaks off, meets with the chief priests, and discusses the fair market value of Jesus. Right? That's essentially what happens here. You know, in life, and I'm sure maybe some of you is that at one point maybe sold a home, you sold your home, moved to another home. You know, you can ask anything you want. You can say whatever you want, the fair market value is this. But it doesn't mean it's the actual market value. The actual market value is whatever you and the buyer agree to settle upon. That's the market value, you know, of your home. You could ask for $2.5 million. If you're able to get that in Frackville, that's great, okay? You know what I mean? But you're not going to get that. So it's not worth $2.5 million. It's whatever you and the buyer agree upon. So the chief Judas asked the question, what do you think the fair market value of Jesus Christ is? The Son of God, the Lord of all creator. And they suggested 30 pieces of silver. And Judas then agrees. So Judas and the chief priests agree that the worth of Jesus Christ is 30 pieces of silver. The Son of God, the creator of the universe. And also on top of that, you know, We all have items, and some items range in value. The cheaper items we take less care of than the more expensive items. So if they see the worth of Jesus as 30 pieces of silver, how well are they going to treat it? How well are they going to take care of that possession? Well, we know on Good Friday what's going to happen. They're going to beat it and humiliate it and nail it to a cross. Because in their minds, he's only worth 30 pieces of silver. What is God's market value for us in our lives? What do we exchange the glory of God for? Again, that was one component of our whole Lenten series that we just, concluded. What do we exchange the love of God for in our temptations? And on top of that, I want to end it with this. How does God see us? What is God's market value for us? Well, again, on Good Friday, the worth that God sees in us is himself. That's how much he thinks we are worth to him, his very self. He hands himself over, and he purchases us with the blood of his beloved Son. Because you are his beloved sons and daughters. That's how much you are worth to him. How much is God worth to us? May God bless you.